Hi, it's Sarah from In Accountancy, and today I want to talk to you about selling online, so e-commerce businesses, and more specifically selling via Amazon. We're getting an awful lot of questions from people who are selling via Amazon and wanting to make sure that they're making the best decisions. So coming up are my top 5 tips or top 5 things that you must consider if you are selling on Amazon. It's becoming such a huge side hustle for people, and Amazon's made it very, very easier than ever for people to become entrepreneurs and start their own businesses and start selling online. That let's make sure we do it right and give ourselves the best chance of success. Now, if you like this, I'd always ask, please do hit subscribe, give us a thumbs up or a like, or post your comments, or maybe even share with somebody else who you think might find this useful too. But without further ado, let's look at our top 5 tips for selling on Amazon. So first and foremost, you need to decide whether you're going to set yourself up as a limited company or a sole trader. Now, this will depend probably very much on what your longer term plans are for the business, or what your plans in general. Is it just a side hustle for a little bit extra money, or do you have plans to really grow and scale this into a business which will allow you to quit your day job, start working for yourself? And it's really important to think this through at the start, because actually with Amazon it can be quite complex to change from a sole trader to a limited company if, for example, you start off as a sole trader. And that's because a sole trader essentially is you as an individual, whereas a limited company is a completely separate legal entity. So if you're to swap from one legal entity yourself to another, as in your limited company, so Amazon can make it quite difficult for your trade to continue seamlessly. It might almost be like you're starting again with them, and you may not have the same service levels or agreements that you've negotiated as a sole trader. So that's the first thing to think about, a sole trade or a limited company. And we've got other videos on the site that go into the details of the pros and cons of sole trade versus limited company, and what you need to consider when you're deciding how to set yourself up. So go and have a look at those if this is something that's important to you. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, you need to think about whether you need to VAT register or not. Now, again, I would suggest that you have real clarity on this early on. Some of this will depend on the items that you're selling, because certain items are exempt from VAT, so it doesn't actually matter. Other items might be 0 rated or 5% rated for VAT, which means that it would still count towards your VATable turnover, but you wouldn't have to charge VAT on these items. And other items are standard rated for VAT, and that would mean that once you exceed the VAT registration threshold, you have to register for VAT and charge that on to your clients. Now, if Amazon you're going to be selling mainly to end users and consumers, then it's really important to understand that if you exceed that VAT registration threshold, your prices to the end user with VAT added on will be 20% more expensive. You've got to think this through at the start. We've had multiple queries from people who have been selling via Amazon at such a tight margin that whenever and they've been doing that to gain volume of sales. But the challenge there is that whenever they've reached the VAT registration threshold, and they have felt that they cannot pass that additional 20% VAT on to their consumers because their consumers or customers aren't VAT registered and therefore can't claim the VAT back. It's a big impact on cost, and they just can't absorb that cost themselves. We had one gentleman contact us who had been selling via Amazon at a 9% margin and had reached the VAT registration threshold, and he'd asked us a few questions about what to do and said that he definitely couldn't pass the additional price on to his clients. And we said to him, well, then he needed to do something different, because actually if he absorbed the VAT cost, he would be losing money for every single sale he made. So you've got to remember, it's not just about turnover. Margin, so profit, is essential, as is cash. And that brings me actually to point 3. So the third thing you need to understand is how important cash flow is in a business, and especially an e-commerce or online business, because as your business grows, many businesses find that they're very seasonal or cyclical. In fact, in retail, there are a huge number of businesses who will do 60, 70, even 80% of their sales in just 3 or 4 months of the year. So if this is the case, then you've got to really understand how your cycles work in terms of when you buy your product and have to pay for your product versus when you're going to get the money back for the sale of your product. So it's really important to understand the cash flow in your business and make sure that if you are a high growth business, that you can definitely afford to grow at the level that your customers want to buy from you at, or you might need to manage that a little bit. Again, turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, but cash is king. Cash is the lifeblood of your organization. Without it, you will not be able to survive. So that's first tip, being limited company or sole trader. Second thing to consider is about VAT registration, and when and how, and to consider that in your margin. Cash flow is the third tip. The fourth one is your pricing strategy, actually. And again, just what we've talked about in terms of margin. Factor VAT in right from the outset. Factor corporation tax if you're a limited company in right from the outset. Factor your own payment, your own salary, your own income in, and any tax that would need to be paid around that right from the outset. Make sure that your pricing strategy counts all of these items so that you know that with every sale you will be making money. We have seen so many businesses who are run by great salespeople sell themselves out of business because they just don't have the pricing strategy right, and they don't have the margin there to ensure that they're making good money with every single sale. Okay, so next thing to consider, and actually it's an extension, as you'll see already, all of these tips or things to consider are so entwined and enmeshed in one another. But the fifth thing that you need to consider is how you're going to ship through Amazon, because you could hold the product yourself and have your own warehouse costs, which may be negligible to start with. It might be your own garage at home or a room in your house, which won't cost you too much but will take time. So that would be one way to do it. Another way would be for your customers to drop ship, for your suppliers to drop ship directly to your customers. So that takes out the need for you to hold the stock. Definitely important if you're selling very, very bulky products online. And another way might be to use Amazon's own fulfillment centers. And again, there are pros and cons to every single method, and there are costs associated. So with at risk of sounding like a broken record, please remember to build all of these costs into your pricing strategy and into your margin to make sure that you're making money with every single sale. So we talked about limited company, VAT registration, margin and pricing strategy, cash flow that you need to understand, and the fulfillment, how you're going to ship to your customers. So that's your top 5 tips. My other tip, which I actually hadn't written down as something to share with you, but I think it's really, really important, is to think about the longer term plan, because Amazon can change what it does and how it operates. So if all of your eggs are in one basket, you are very, very dependent on Amazon and on that small amount of margin you can make. You don't own your own customer lists. You are not in control of your own margins. You're not really even in control of your own sales or your own marketing, and you certainly can't build a real brand if you're doing it through Amazon. So I would encourage each and every one of you that start selling on Amazon to have a longer term strategy whereby you are going to build your own sales channels through your own website, where you can control the margin, you can control the brand, and you can grow your database of really happy, ecstatic customers who come back and buy from you again. You can market directly to them and therefore keep a lot of your costs down. So do have a long-term plan whenever you're considering setting up your first Amazon shopping experience. And I wish you a huge amount of success with it. If you've any questions, please drop them down below. If you've liked this, found it useful, then I would encourage you to subscribe to the channel and let me know of anything else that you think would be useful for us to do on another video. Thanks very much, and bye for now.